This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform.
Are we going the opposite way?
Are we?
Oh.
Yeah.
We are. Sorry.
Okay, Sam and I just got off the train. Sorry, the tube. And we're bundled up in our coats. We've been in London less than 24 hours, and neither of us slept much the night before.
I would say it's the back of the British Museum, isn't it?
You think?
They're parallel to it.
Yeah, it's right here.
Oh, let's follow that.
Yeah. A few blocks.
We're with Andy. He's our field producer here in the UK, and he's helping us find our next location, the St. Pancras Church House. But we're not feeling religious this morning. We're meeting up with members of Just Stop Oil, one of the most controversial climate groups operating today. We've been getting vague instructions from someone over WhatsApp, and even though we're heading towards the church house, the thing we're really looking for is called the Hive.
Until we got to London, we'd never even heard of it. And we'd been reporting on this story for months.
Yeah, but once we arrived at the training, we realized Just Stop Oil uses a lot of bee metaphors.
It almost felt like we were being let in on a secret language.
Well, there's a strategic element to this. The bees in Just Stop Oil are the individual members. The queens function as the leaders, but they rotate, so there's actually no official leader.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the people doing a specific action make up the Hive. We're here to understand how Just Stop Oil operates. We're going to learn who they are, how they think, and why they believe they're going to win. To do that, though, we need to see how they're trained.
You've seen the videos all over social media. You've read the headlines. Maybe you think they're crazy.
Now we're pulling back the curtain and taking you inside the climate group that everyone has an opinion about.
You have absolutely no right to obstruct other people's daily lives. It's utterly outrageous, it's selfish, and you are putting people's lives at risk.
Some things are pretty surprising.
Others have us questioning whether or not we're being told the full truth. Are we ever really inside? And what is Just Stop Oil planning to do next? I'm Alessandra Ram.
And I'm Samantha Altman.
This is Sabotage from Good Luck Media, Episode 4, The Hive.
Are you Kate?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Alessandra.
Oh, hi.
Nice to meet you. Sorry we're a bit late.
Well, we're locked out at the moment. Hi.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm really sorry we can't get in at the moment.
So, we're finally at the Hive, and right outside, we meet a queen. Her name is Kate Logan, and she seems a little stressed.
I've sent a message earlier to ask for instructions.
Standing next to her, also locked out in the November cold, are about a dozen people, awkwardly looking like it's the first day of school.
The group is here for a non-violence training. For 5 hours, new recruits will learn about the history of non-violent protest tactics. They'll also role-play various scenarios, from dealing with angry members of the public to getting arrested. It's pretty rigorous, but Just Stop Oil requires you to attend before you can join a protest with them.
Now, if you're trying to picture what it's like, think of a self-defense class, a youth group, and a theater camp all rolled into one. And they're letting us record it.
You can come on in. Great. Panic over. So we're up the second floor.
This room isn't just used to train new recruits. People come here for drug and alcohol support too, You can see various meeting supplies stacked in clear plastic boxes off to the side. Someone's left a basket of very organic-looking apples on the floor, and we can hear a tea kettle whistling in the kitchen.
And also say, like, who doesn't want their name and tell us if you're going to their action.
What we normally try and do is that the first half of the day or the training is about mental and emotional preparation for civil resistance.
We're now sitting on folding chairs in a circle in the middle of the room. People still seem nervous. Some of them have tightly crossed arms, and others are glancing shyly around the room. Everyone takes turns introducing themselves. A couple of them mention that they're still unsure if they'll take action or not.
Okay, so we're going to do a brief grounding.
This isn't that weird. Just Stop Oil uses a lot of meditative techniques.
Everyone just try and make yourself comfortable where you're sitting, and you can close your eyes. Feel the connection between your feet and the floor, and the connection of your body with the earth as it supports us. Maybe take a few long, deep breaths. And when you're ready, wriggle your fingers, your toes, maybe have a stretch, open your eyes or raise your gaze, and come back to our circle.
There is a little laughter, and people seem to have relaxed, which is necessary for what's coming.
There's also a second queen in the room. He came in a little late, and he is buzzing with energy.
Yeah, we're going to try and keep the pace going, right? So we'll, I'll give you lots of energy, and then you give it back. That's the way it works.
This is Adil Khan. He goes by Azriel, and he's leading the training with Kate.
I kind of look at it like a ballet, right? When you have an action, there's ups and downs, there's villains and there's heroes, and there's conflict.
This training was 5 hours long, so during one of the breaks, I went over to chat with Kate and Azriel.
We'd love to chat with you for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Just I find your dynamic really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, of us?
Yeah, I find that I'll have a point and I'll start it off and I have the idea in my mind and then I forget to finish it because I'm talking about something. Then she'll come in and round off the idea.
They're very different, but they complement each other. Do both of you have a job outside of Just Stop Oil?
I'm actually a solicitor, so a lawyer.
Kate is also a mom to 2 kids, and she's sort of the perfect person to lead this type of thing. Or anything, really. Plus, having a lawyer be the one to train activists who are thinking about getting arrested for the first time doesn't seem like a bad idea.
I mean, I've slightly lost count now, but this might be training 6 or 7 for me.
And as for Azriel?
They might call you a smelly hippie, get a job. Yeah, we get that a lot. Yeah.
At first glance, he's probably what most people think of when they picture a climate protester. He's kind of crunchy and waxes poetic about the principles of nonviolence. He does have a day job, though.
I'm a data architect.
Basically, that means he designs data systems.
I've led quite a few marches. Facilitated quite a few marches. You don't lead.
Leaders.
You don't have leaders.
Kate corrected Azriel here because, remember, Just Stop Oil doesn't have leaders, at least not technically. From what we know, a queen isn't a fixed role. People rotate in and out of it. Kate and Azriel are queens today because they've been with the group for a while.
Can I ask how many times both of you have been arrested?
I've been arrested 4 times. Yeah.
Also 4 times, yeah.
It turns out everyone else in the room is brand new to Just Stop Oil.
Yeah, I know that there'll be some people who are coming here because they've already decided to take action, maybe next week, and some people who are not yet sure. But
So it must be fascinating seeing people come in here who haven't fully made up their mind. Is there a general trend you see after they do this?
I don't have actual statistics to back this up, but my impression from asking people at the beginning of the day how they feel about or why they're here, and the number of them who will say, I'm not sure if I want to join an action. By the end of the day, most of them have usually said, yeah, I think I can do this. I think this has given me the confidence to understand the tactic and feel able to take part in it.
It's also they don't feel alone. right? Like you're not at home deciding by yourself.
It's the idea that for a revolution to take place, you need community, you need people that you can talk to that like are on the same level as you. It's massively refreshing to be around other people that share the same views as you.
You can feel that in this room. Everyone here has at least one shared view, that the people in charge are not doing their jobs on climate change. So it's up to everyday people like them to stand up and do something.
And some of them have a lot to say.
I just don't watch the news. I just don't bother.
Why not?
Well, it's all just so negative and doom and gloom. There's not really any positive, uplifting stuff in it.
This is Jake Cosley. He's 27, and even though he says he doesn't watch the news, he's excited to talk to us because he loves podcasts.
I just know how important it is for people to help connect to the issues again and gain optimism and motivation and positivity and stuff. So
Jake actually works in sustainability for Falmouth University.
Oh, okay, so you're focused on generally trying to help the planet in your daily work.
Addressing climate ecological crisis for a university, what that looks like, and building a strategy.
And, if you work in sustainability already, what is drawing you to disruptive activism? Like, isn't your job enough, or?
I don't think it is. No, I think we all have a role to play. We have different levels and scales of influence.
Like Peter and Rose, the scientists we met in the last episode, Jake says he's sort of shocked at the level of complacency he sees from people in his own field.
I think any sustainability professional who's turning a blind eye to this sort of stuff isn't switched on. I don't understand how you can ignore it and just poodle away on your own thing.
He doesn't seem too concerned about the prospect of losing his job.
I don't really care what work thinks, because I feel like I can't be a sustainability coordinator without standing up for this issue. So, like, in the worst case scenario of me getting fired, like, sustainability coordinator gets arrested for standing up for no new coal, oil, and gas. I think it's, I don't really care.
So, does that mean he'll actually join an action?
Well, he told the rest of the group he's leaning toward it.
What brought me to training is I think I'm about 85% there to taking action next week.
Rishi, on the other hand, is 100% down.
Yeah. I think the plan is to get arrested tomorrow, basically.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. So it'll be your first time.
Rishi is a 20-year-old student from Manchester. He and his friends are very involved in activism. And he says his older sister is already a part of Just Stop Oil.
Me and a couple of friends, we went to a few meetings, and I was already slowly being convinced by my sister, who's also part in London. If she believes in whatever this movement is, then I should probably just trust her.
Has she been arrested yet?
She's not, but she's also doing it this week. She's done a couple of slow marches before, but it's both of our first time, I guess.
Rishi's fairly representative of the people you encounter in the climate justice space. He's young, he's smart, and with his oversized, vintagey sweater and cool earring, he has a sort of anti-establishment vibe about him.
So it's no surprise he's ready to protest.
It feels like such a tipping point moment. It's just stuff feels so bad in the UK right now.
Still, he's nervous, especially when it comes to getting a job after university.
For me, I'd be a first-time arrestee. It's not.
Are you nervous?
I am nervous. Yeah, of course I'm nervous. I mean, I'm not it's not going to be that serious, but it will have ramifications. It will never leave my record, probably. And employers are in their right to ask, basically. When I look for jobs, they're in their right to ask. But it's a bit stressful knowing that potentially jeopardizing my future.
But Rishi isn't the type to just sit back and do nothing.
The way I see it, it's one way or another, we're going to face some kind of mass social change, whether or not we're in control of it, right? So either we face totally ecological collapse and, mass climate migration, we have things like extreme weather events, we'll just lose control of what we think is the normal way of, operating society, and that will force change. Or we're in control of it and we do something now, within the next 2 years, take serious action and retain some control.
This is something we hear climate activists echo a lot, that they feel like they have to do something.
But first, there are some things that Just Stop Oil wants them to know.
So the act of a protester getting into a debate with a driver about climate change, would you consider that to be violent, not violent, or non-violent?
Okay, so what you're hearing is the queens are presenting bees with specific scenarios and asking them to categorize each one. If you think a situation is violent, you walk to the right side of the room. If you think it's not violent, you stay in the middle. And if you guess non-violent, yes, there's a difference, you go to the left side.
Most of the bees were kind of uncertain about what the right answers were.
Yeah, some people were looking around to see what others were guessing before they moved to one side or another.
Oh, right, quite a spread.
The important distinction here is that nonviolence is not the same thing as being not violent or passive. It's about taking a stand, even breaking the rules, but in a peaceful way.
Just Stop Oil is borrowing from several famous playbooks, movements that weren't particularly popular at the time. The suffragettes, Gandhi and Indian independence, the civil rights movement, and of course, Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Don't shoot! Hands up! Don't shoot!
And all these movements have faced violent backlash.
The two movements I hear referenced most from Just Stop Oil are the suffragettes and then the civil rights movement in the U.S.
On the one hand, yes, the suffragettes were disruptive, so that's the similarity. But the difference, we'll say, is that suffragettes actually were more damaging and more violent. You know, they burnt down buildings, people died in their protests, and we're not even going that far. So it's both. But yeah, you're right. And, you know, this, to be fair, the same can be said of the civil rights movement. It also had a more radical and violent flank.
Kate is distancing Just Stop Oil from radicalism, but the group does use a controversial method from the civil rights era: getting arrested on purpose.
The current strategy is lots of arrests, lots of pressure on the police. So, you know, it's trying to replicate the civil rights movement Alabama campaign, where they literally filled all of the jail cells day after day after day, so much that the city police said, we can't do this anymore, and pressured the local government. And it was this pressure on the police, on the justice system, of ordinary people non-violently showing that they would not take the status quo remaining anymore.
Before we go any further, I'm going to play part of a conversation we had recently with an expert on activism and climate politics. Her name's Dana Fisher. She's a professor at American University, and she recently wrote a book about the radical flank of the climate movement.
But first, we should have her explain, what exactly is a radical flank?
So a radical flank is a term we use to describe when activists within a social movement decide to take on more aggressive and confrontational tactics. At a certain point, some people get frustrated and say, you know, we're at risk of, you know, losing our lives, losing our livelihoods, having to move because the seas are rising and nothing is happening. This isn't working. We need to do something more. What are we going to do to have them listen to us? Usually they start thinking about more aggressive tactics that get more attention.
But when it comes to Just Stop Oil, Fisher doesn't necessarily think they fall into this category.
I mean, let's be honest here, right? It's not radical like, you know, Black Power was radical. But again, this movement is still growing and the climate crisis is still worsening. So there's no reason to expect that it's not going to continue to radicalize as people get more and more frustrated.
Like Kate and Azriel, Fisher brought up the civil rights movement and its blueprint for forcing social change. As most of us know, Dr. King also took a nonviolent approach. But the movement itself was still surrounded by brutality, especially when it came to being on the receiving end.
You know, there's a whole bunch of empirical research that shows the way that violence against activists during the civil rights period played a huge role in changing the general population's opinion about the issue. And all of a sudden elicited anger from the general population and created a sense within the elected officials that they could lose power because peaceful protesters should not have, the shit kicked out of them on national television.
We already saw this in the response to Black Lives Matter protests in cities across the U.S. in 2020. And it's a reminder that Just Stop Oil protesters are facing real risks anytime they step out in public to disrupt everyday life.
And nothing illustrates this more than a word we hear over and over again: floppy.
You're going to maybe lie down, go completely floppy, and try and...
He's going floppy.
Want to go floppy and...
But going floppy, they tend to go floppy. So if you go floppy, you can do both go floppy. Okay.
When we get back, things get a little theatrical.
We're shipping Easter gifts with a rapid-fire round of questions. Ready?
Yes, my gift. Can you pack it?
Yep.
Ship it?
Yes.
Guarantee it?
Of course.
Oh, send gift baskets?
For sure.
Protect electronics? Dog-proof it? Return it if they hate it?
Yes, no, and yeah.
Are you the UPS store?
Hey, we have a winner!
Visit theupsstore.com/guarantee for full details. Most locations are independently owned. Product services, prices, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS Store. Visit a store today.
Sure, Just Stop Oil has gone viral for targeting art, but their bread and butter, at least for the past year, has been what they call a slow march. That's when a group of these activists step onto a road, usually a busy one, and then walk very, very slowly while holding up banners. But before anyone can join a slow march, they have to practice.
So the group all puts on bright orange vests and organizes themselves in a square shape. Those standing on the edges hold up 4 Just Stop Oil banners so that, in theory, someone can read the words from every direction.
Then the bees move in a circle across the floor, and they're moving really slow. It's like annoyingly slow.
This is how slow you should walk.
Okay.
Okay? Nice and controlled, one foot in front of the other, no rush. It's only illegal if you stop. Debatable. Yeah.
In the slow march, everyone has a role. If you are in the back, you are a de-escalator, and it's your job to keep everything calm when things get dicier.
Yeah, do you want to hold a banner? Do you want to be de-escalator? Switch.
We've noticed the ones who take this role tend to be bigger, stronger. Like they could handle themselves if angry bystanders get physical.
Nice taut banners. Where's the box shape that Azriel always likes to see?
If you're in the front, you're a safety facilitator, which is an extra important job.
One accusation we've been hearing a lot while reporting on this group is that Just Stop Oil blocks ambulances and emergency responders.
You say you want to save lives, and yet your actions are bordering on potentially costing lives. You cannot get in the way of emergency services in the way that you're doing.
But they actually have a specific protocol called blue light, which means they try not to block emergency vehicles whenever possible.
So these facilitators got like different hand signals that they use. So the most important hand signal is like stop. There's a blue light. So you're the safety facilitator. You've been alerted that there's a blue light, so an ambulance or a fire truck or a police car even. And you're thinking, okay, look, we're compromising our safety now of the public and ourselves. So you're going to say, look, we're going to move everyone off the road.
Azriel imitates a blaring siren, and the bees practice calmly stepping out of the road. Next, the bees have to practice confrontation.
In this case, literally act it out. If you're trying to imagine what that's like, picture an improv class. It's a little awkward and silly. Some people hang back and stumble over their words when they're on the spot, and others, well, they throw themselves into their roles.
And we're going to do some role play exercise so we got one person who's going to be an angry driver, okay? And we've got different ideas for reasons that they might be angry. So there might be a driver that they're going to visit a parent who is in hospital and they're in a critical state. They might die before you get to hospital.
This is actually a pretty crucial part of the training. If you look at coverage or videos of Just Stop Oil's protests, you'll usually see someone getting really angry at them, even violent. So the recruits need to be ready.
And here's Azriel explaining some of the different scenarios that everyone is going to role play.
There might be a driver that's on their way to an important job interview. They might be late, and if they're late for work, there may be consequences. They might lose their job. Or you might be a key worker, like a hospital worker or something, and you're trying to get to work, so your job actually matters.
All of these situations could happen, and they're also frequently mentioned in negative coverage of the group.
There's different approaches that the angry driver might take. They might be like really aggressive and like shouting and angry. They might be like kind of cruel. Or what's actually a lot harder, is they make you feel guilty. They manipulate you in that way.
With that, the bees broke up into groups and got their role play on.
Jake is acting as a protester. Another recruit is acting like an angry driver.
She's a natural. She really inhabits her role.
And Jake, he's really British, polite and soft-spoken, so he has to dig deep. Just listen.
What the bloody hell do you think's going on? I've got to get to work.
I'm really sorry for any inconvenience, madam. We're protesting.
Sorry, that's not going to help. The children I deal with are actually affected by really bad trauma. I have to be there. I'm a child therapist. I think this is fucking selfish.
I understand. Would you like me to explain a bit why we're here today?
No, not right now. I'm sorry. I'm not feeling very bloody receptive. How long is this going to go on for?
Well, we're marching until we're getting arrested, so as soon as the police come, it'll probably come.
You're marching until you get arrested?
So we're marching for arrest today.
That?
If you'd like me to tell you a bit more about why we're marching in the road, would you like me to tell you a bit more?
What is it? Stop oil?
Yes, so just...
Another vain attempt to save the planet. I'm sorry, but, we're all in this shit together, but I don't get out and start disrupting people's lives, do I?
We believe that this is the mechanism of change we need to get our government to agree to demands and save lots of future lives. That's why we're here today.
I don't know. I really just don't know what to say. I can't help but think this is rather selfish. There must be another way of doing this.
Thank you. That was a good scenario.
I know. It was like a pixel.
That was good.
Clearly, we're in England, the birthplace of Shakespeare.
But seriously, even if the role play could feel a little dramatic, the bees need to be mentally prepared. Because Just Stop Oil forbids fighting back in any way, whether with angry members of the public or the police. Instead, protesters should de-escalate by speaking to the person, or if it becomes physical, going floppy, which they're also encouraged to do when getting arrested.
You're going to maybe lie down, go completely floppy, and try and kind of let go of all tension in your whole body. And when they try and lift you up that time, notice how much more difficult it is to pick you up when you're doing that.
Should we split and do two floppies? Yeah.
Do you want to try in two, or should we just...
So we watched the bees practice going floppy. One person, Charlotte, who's a pretty small 19-year-old woman, lies down in the center of the room and goes completely limp.
If at any point this hurts, just say, stop. But now if you guys can try again to lift her.
And 5 volunteers, playing the role of cops, struggle to lift her.
Move it back again. Go back again.
It's kind of funny, hence the laughter. Everyone is surprised by just how much effort it takes. Eventually, they manage to lift Charlotte and carefully move her a few feet, but it looks like a few of them are breaking into a sweat.
What did you notice that time?
I'm not going to definitely hard. That was definitely harder for me.
You can hear how the bees have started to bond with each other. The role-playing and discussions have brought some of the shyest newbies out of their shells. There's even a feeling of excitement in the air. At this point, it's been 5 hours. The nonviolence training is wrapping up. There's actually another meeting scheduled, a pre-action briefing, in the same room, so new people are starting to filter in.
And we're starting to hit the limits of just how much Just Stop Oil is willing to tell us.
Some of the bees we met this morning are hugging each other goodbye, while a few of them grab the trekking backpacks and duffel bags they've shown up with, and then head off in the same direction.
They're clearing out the room now, and the information is apparently just too sensitive that they don't want us to record any of it.
Yeah. Did you discuss with Azrael and Kate safe houses?
The safe houses. Sam and I really wanted to get access to one. That's typically a secret location where a group of bees stay the night before a big action.
You're staying in a safe house?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
no idea where, but we'll find out.
Okay.
So we try to convince our new bee friends, Rishi and Jake, to make a case for us to the Hive.
I can see if someone in the safe house has some kind of tech on them. I mean, I just don't know. Like, it's possible that we just have zero access to the outside world once we're in there.
Just Stop Oil takes this stuff seriously, and for good reason. The police have raided the co-founders' homes more than once. They've even arrested people for simply wearing Just Stop Oil t-shirts near a public event.
Yeah, and we could even go and not necessarily record if people aren't comfortable with that.
It all just depends on when I'm handing my phone in. So I've been told that we're handing our phones in tonight.
No luck. Even if they wanted to, Rishi and Jake can't communicate with us once they get to the safe house. It would be too risky.
Just think about where we are. London is technically one of the most surveilled cities on Earth, with close to 1 million CCTV cameras. And cell phones are traceable.
So we're gonna have to figure out some things on our own. But first, Sam and I, and our field producer, Andy, need to debrief. After being mic'd up for 5 hours, we have a lot to say to each other that can't be communicated in glances across the room.
The whole idea of them doing the protest is to get arrested, so they're all going to be arrested. And I just felt really anxious for them. I feel really worried for them.
Yeah, I was struck by how shy and soft-spoken the vast majority of the people in the room were, some of whom I struggled to even hear what they were saying, and I was imagining them in conflict with an angry driver or with a police officer.
Didn't seem like the vast majority of people were nervous about getting arrested. Seemed like they were nervous about the confrontation with the public. That's what people were like, how do I de-escalate? Because asking you to just stand back while being shoved and not fight back instinctually is odd, right?
Well, for me, because I've seen it on the news so many times, when they do the protest, I've seen the push and they have this kind of almost funny fall. And I think, God, these are really weak people. They're just falling in such a weird way. But I didn't realize that's part of their training. They're supposed to flop.
It's interesting to hear Andy's perspective as a Londoner who's been living with Just Stop Oil's public disruptions for more than a year. Just like Sam and me, when we first started to dig into this story, his preconceptions are being challenged. Now that he's gone inside the Hive,
these people are not quite the chaotic eco-terrorists that UK media often depicts them to be.
Andy's worried about them and what will happen if they actually get out and protest.
I mean, I was nervous for them too. Keep in mind, as an American, my vision of a protest is defined by violence and police brutality.
Yeah, I've covered a lot more of those protests, unfortunately. Maybe that's coloring my perception for what they're going to experience.
Well, at the moment, there is not a lot we can do. I'm starving. Ollie needs sleep. We need to get out of the church.
Okay, we're back at the Airbnb, and we're desperate to get in touch with the new recruits we met. But they probably don't have their phones.
And I'm just glued to my phone looking at WhatsApp and Signal and email.
We are really living and dying by these double check marks on WhatsApp.
Do you think we're having a hard time communicating with them because they're disorganized or because they're just
aware that they are facing a lot of scrutiny, and so they're being secretive?
I think it's both. I think they are intentionally secretive with us, even though they've been relatively forthcoming. We're still journalists, and they've mostly gotten negative press coverage, to be honest, especially here in the UK. So it makes sense that they're slightly distrustful of the media.
I think intentionally it's like a need-to-know basis thing, and they're just different hives of activists.
A need-to-know basis is easier to sort of confuse authority figures.
Absolutely.
And it's confusing us, so it's working.
Yeah.
What did you think about that idea that was floated the other day about some of these rooms being bugged? The nonviolence training was held in that church upstairs. Like, do you really think that it's bugged?
It sounds outlandish and a little ridiculous, but when you think about it, like, this group of activists is like a thorn in the current government's side. There's no question that this group is under surveillance in the UK, and I think that it would be easy to surveil them.
And they've already gotten all their names. They've identified their faces. I'm sure our faces are going to be on some of these things. We've been investigating Just Stop Oil since spring of 2023. So now that we're on their home turf and literally in their trainings, we're definitely going to show up on some police lists too. The thing is, even if we think we're on the inside with this group, maybe we never really are. There's no way they'd tell us everything they're planning. That just wouldn't make sense.
But they did send us a few details about where to go the next day. Coordinates on a road.
And when we looked them up,
turns out they're at one of the busiest intersections in the UK.
So what exactly is the plan? Will the bees we met actually get arrested? And if everyone in this scenario is being watched, what do the police already know?
On the next episode of Sabotage, we join Just Stop Oil and see firsthand what happens when someone breaks the law to save the planet.
Sabotage is an original production from Good Luck Media. The show is hosted, reported, and executive produced by Samantha Altman and me, Alessandra Rom. Our producer is Hannah Chinn. Our consulting senior producer is Rebecca Sananes. Our field producer is Andy Fallon. Our audio engineer is Erick Gomez, with original music by Daniel G. Harmon, with executive producers Adam McKay and Stacey Roberts Steele, produced in partnership with Yellow Dot Studios. Sabotage is represented by Drew Wellborn from WME and Andrew Randoni from Bala in Los Angeles. Our show art was designed by Louisa Betancourt. If you want to check out Dana Fisher's book, it's called Saving Ourselves: From Climate Shocks to Climate Action. We'll link to it in the show notes. Special thanks to Nick Carden of Carden Audio. Good Luck Media is an independent journalism studio where climate is the main character. We'll see you next week.